Today, in Biopilates Deep Dive, I would like to take you into an exercise that may appear simple at first glance, yet contains an immense biomechanical richness, offering, or in French, l'offrande. In the Reformer Pilates repertoire, the front rowing preps belong to the essential level, with a recommendation of 5 repetitions using 1 or 2 springs. Within this series, we find straightforward second position and offering, 3 preparations that progressively establish the relationship between the trunk, the scapulae, the arms, and the resistance of the carriage. What touches me about offering is its name, to offer. The movement is not forced. We do not push with brutality. We present the arms into space as though we were offering something, but this offering is only possible if the center remains organized. We sit upright facing the foot bar against the shoulder rests. The pelvis and spine remain neutral. The legs are crossed. The elbows are bent, slightly behind the body. The hands are placed in the straps, slightly higher than the elbows. The palms face upward, while the wrists and fingers remain long. And already, even before moving, everything is there. The breath, the pelvis, the rib cage, the scapulae, the head, and the upper limbs. The exercise begins with an inhale. Then, on the exhale, we maintain scapular stability and extend the elbows to lengthen the arms forward at shoulder height in order to push the carriage away. The triceps work concentrically to extend the elbows, but it would be a mistake to believe that the movement belongs only to the arms. In reality, the arm can only move forward with precision if the trunk remains present. The transversus abdominis gently compresses the abdominal wall. The deep pelvic floor participates in this activation. The spinal extensors, rectus abdominis and obliques, stabilize the spine in neutral. Pilates breathing supports this organization because it promotes the connection between the diaphragm, the deep abdominals, and the pelvic floor through a 3-dimensional expansion of the rib cage. Then comes the next inhale. The arms remain extended, the palms facing upward, and the arms open into horizontal abduction. This is often where the exercise reveals the truth of the body. Do the scapulae elevate? Do they squeeze excessively together? Does the rib cage project forward? Does the pelvis shift behind or in front of the sit bones? The opening of the arms must not become an uncontrolled opening of the thorax. It must remain shoulder mobility supported by trunk stability. The scapulae glide, but they do not escape. They remain resting against the rib cage without rigidity or tension. In the Pilates method, scapular stability is never a rigid immobilization. It is a living control, an ability to modulate muscular tension in order to maintain the scapula against the rib cage during arm movement. On the exhale, the arms return into horizontal adduction. The pectoralis major muscles and the anterior fibers of the deltoids contribute to bringing the arms back together, but once again, the quality of the movement depends on what is almost invisible: the continuity of the wrists, the absence of elbow hyperextension, the stability of the rib cage, and the sensation of a grounded, organized pelvis. Finally, on the inhale, the elbows bend and the arms return to the starting position. The return of the carriage is controlled. The triceps now work eccentrically. This is a very important pedagogical moment because the return should not simply happen to us. It must be accompanied. The spring wants to pull the carriage back. The body, meanwhile, learns to dialogue with that force. In this exercise, shoulder biomechanics are essential. When the elbows are bent and slightly behind the body at the start, the shoulder is placed in an organization that requires a very refined relationship between the humerus, the scapula, and the rib cage. If the scapulae are too retracted, the shoulder loses its freedom. If they are too protracted, the arm moves forward without support. If they elevate, the upper trapezius and neck muscles take over. This is where the teres minor and teres major become particularly interesting. The teres minor inserts along the lateral border of the scapula and travels towards the greater tubercle of the humerus. It contributes to external rotation of the shoulder and stabilization of the humeral head within the glenoid cavity. It is innervated by the axillary nerve. The teres major originates from the posterior surface of the scapula and inserts onto the medial lip of the intertubercular groove of the humerus. It contributes to extension, adduction, and internal rotation of the shoulder. It is innervated by the lower subscapular nerve. Of course, these two muscles do not perform the exercise alone, but they remind us that the shoulder is not an articulation suspended in empty space. It depends on a system of coaptation, orientation, and control. The teres minor helps center the joint. The teres major helps organize the power of extension and adduction. Alongside the serratus anterior, trapezius, rhomboids, the rotator cuff, and the trunk muscles, they participate in this scapulohumeral intelligence that allows the arm to move without sacrificing the shoulder. The modifications are highly educational. In forearm pronation, we begin with the palms facing upward, then rotate the palms downward before pressing the arms forward. We maintain this orientation during the opening phase, then rotate the palms upward again before bending the elbows. This variation changes the perception of the arm, the elbow, the wrist, and the scapula. In forearm supination, we do the opposite. We begin with the palms facing downward, then rotate the palms upward before pressing. This variation may help certain students better feel the width of the chest, the length through the fingers, and the connection of the arms into the back. Finally, we may omit the opening of the arms to the sides entirely. We simply extend the elbows forward, then return. This modification is extremely valuable for a student who loses scapular stability or who cannot yet manage horizontal abduction without tension. In teaching, it is essential to present the exercise in layers. First, name the exercise, establish the starting position, demonstrate it, explain the breath, and only then deepen the anatomy, focus points, modifications, and common mistakes. This is a way to avoid overwhelming the student and to allow them to feel before intellectually understanding. For me, offering is an exercise of precision. It teaches us not to confuse openness with dispersion. It teaches us not to confuse strength with tension. It teaches us to extend the arms without hardening the elbows, to stabilize the scapula without freezing them, to breathe without thrusting the rib cage forward, to remain seated without collapsing. It is an exercise that says a great deal about the Pilates method. Movement is global, intelligent, and organized. The arm moves forward, but the center responds. The carriage moves, but the pelvis remains clear, the shoulders open, but the scapulae remain inhabited. The resistance comes from behind, but the body does not allow itself to be pulled away by it. And perhaps that is ultimately what offering truly is, offering the arms forward while keeping one's axis, creating amplitude while preserving the center, creating movement without losing the integrity of posture. Thank you for listening, and see you soon for another episode of Biopilates Deep Dive.